wanted to share a little story about my morning routine and what happened during it. It's about me, fear, and a bug. So I'm laying there and I feel this little start crawling on my arm. But what I observed was this intense fear that just filled my body. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what it was. What matters is that this ant triggered a fear response to fill me with anxiety. And it just seems so silly that something so small could be so like just fear striking. But I realized that it's these tiny little things that just fill the crevices of our bodies, and we learn them from being very young. And it's this intense fear of death, of not being okay, of something being really, really wrong. And it lives in these tiny little crevices of our bodies and in these cells, and it builds as we get older. And that is where this is coming from. So I've worked on this for a while, just not being bothered or being okay when like a bug crawls on me. But what I realized is that I haven't been working with it in the right way, because I'm not really seeing any results. Like, I still feel this like I'm still stricken with panic when I feel this, even though I've learned how to control my body on the outside. My insides, I haven't actually learned to pass the stuff through. So it's okay to be peaceful and centered as long as you're not pushing the stuff down, as long as you're allowing it to flow through. And what I realize is that by controlling my flesh, it seems, and I'm giving the illusion like I'm actually peaceful and centered, but inside, being brutally honest with myself, I know that I'm not. And I want to be brutally honest with myself so that I can actually pass these things through. So what I noticed when this thing was crawling on me, when I noticed this tingling sensation, different thoughts came up. Thoughts of like, if it was a loved one or something that was just like in a playful spirit, just going like this along my arm, just this light little touch, I would probably be filled with love. And this little thing just kept going like up, and it went all the way up. I just observed where it would go. And I noticed that as it would come closer to like my face or to my heart area, it would get, my fear would grow, the intensity would grow. And then it would just like crawl down and crawl up, and it wasn't hurting anything. And actually, if I put myself in that place where it was a loved one, I actually like wanted it to keep happening, because just this little tingle felt so nice, and it felt like a caressing actually. But then when I thought about what it possibly could be, that's when the fear came in. And so I noticed that I could have this different reaction, and the reaction that I wanted to flow through me, that I wanted to pass through, that I knew was stuck in me, was the one of like intense fear of not being okay, of survival, of death, of the world being a scary place. And I did that. And so as I sat there, I didn't want to excuse it away anymore. I didn't want to just think, oh, it's just an ant and it'll be fine and I'm safe. And that's my voice inside. That's the voice that is this kind of like this roommate that it can give me really great advice and can give me really shitty advice. Because it's the same voice that was telling me it was scary and was going to kill me, and now it's telling me that it's not going to kill me and it's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay. And so I'm like, voice, you're not helping. So what is it really? That's when I have to go back and I have to check into, like, go as far deep, like open that door and go as deep into the corner as I possibly can and figure out where this is really coming from. And then, so it's like, you can start to just ask, okay, like, who am I? Who is it that really feels disturbed if I need to go back that far? And I did. And then I started to think, like, I have the capacity to balance this intense fear. I know who I am. And I know the power that I have. And I now know that maybe when I was young, I didn't know and I wasn't taught how to pass this fear through me. But now I do. And I know how to balance this fear, because what I ultimately want is balance. And what I'm looking at is I'm taking this fear, this intense, this is seriously like the most intense fear of, like, my body could have been in like the middle of, a war zone, and I could feel the same fear. The fear would have been the same. That feeling, the essence of what I was feeling would have been the same. And so I put myself in my imagination into a scenario where I kind of gave this feeling form, and I said to it, just come as you are. Like, I have the capacity to face you, to hold you, to allow you to flow through, to just be who you are, and to pass through my soul, my space of unconditional love, and allow you to be transformed, because that's who I am. I have that. I can do that. I can hold that space for you. And so when I got into that mindset, I was able to just look at it in the face. Just look at it. Just look at it. And it just started to diminish. And it wasn't that it was an ant. It wasn't that I didn't excuse away the ant. I didn't excuse away the materialization of the situation, of the trigger that brought this up. I dealt with the core. I just allowed the fear to pass through. I allowed it to come as it is, because I know that I have the ability and the capacity and the space to hold for this form. And I did it. And then this little thing that was crawling up and around, it was so much easier to enjoy it and to just see that it was like a caressing, just like nice little, I even was coming up with the excuse of like, oh, it's probably good for me. Like, oh, it's good for me. Maybe, there's the bugs crawling on you kind of thing. Like sometimes when bugs crawl on you or bees bite you, they bite you in acupressure points, but that's an excuse. That's an excuse to help your flesh calm down, I guess, which is helpful, but it doesn't really deal with the actual issue, because you're going to have an unfathomable number of ways that this could come up. I wanted to share the story because sometimes, like, the answers are found in the smallest, tiniest little thing. So the next time you have a bug crawling on you and you feel that fear, maybe you know what to do. It doesn't matter what it is. It's that there's fear and there's an opportunity for you to let it pass through, for you to adapt. This is adaptation, this is adaptation, this is adaptability. This is how you survive. This is how cockroaches have survived for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years from like the dinosaurs, because they adapt. And not only survive, but thrive. The story of me and the ant.